Hello there, friends, and welcome back to another episode of Football Manager Therapy. I am your host, Rich Owens, and joining me this week is a bit of an eclectic mix of human beings because we have got one quarter of the FMT, and we also have a super special guest. Sometimes we hide them away in the background when we do the intros. Sometimes we do that, but this week, no, loud and proud for our guest. Kev's here. But our wonderful guest this week, it's Josh Peach. Hello, Josh. How are you, pal?
Hello. How are we doing, lads? It's a real pleasure to be here. So thank you for having me.
Oh, mate, it's an absolute pleasure. An absolute pleasure. It's honestly, it's all ours. I mean, Kev, we've been a bit giddy this week, haven't we? Knowing that Josh was coming on. It's been.
I mean, we're usually a little bit giddy in the first place, aren't we? So this is ultra giddy, whatever ultra giddy is, and the next level up from there, we might reach it during the next hour. Who knows? But yeah, it's a good one. Looking forward to this one immensely. How are you, Rich? How's things?
Oh, I'm grand, mate. I'm grand. It's been a busy old week. But it's my cherished Sunday morning time. So I'm looking forward to this one. It's been super exciting. Like, again, exciting behind the scenes news from us at FMT. We've been lining up guests over the past couple of weeks. And look, if you think Josh is good, like Josh is now the benchmark for guests. Now, Josh, there is a little bit of pressure because we have had a tendency recently. I'd say we've had 3 guests on in the last kind of 6 months or so. One of them ended up getting a permanent job on the podcast. So
okay.
Don't
no
think
pressure
of
then,
this. Yeah, no pressure. Don't think of this as an audition. But Callum and Jeb aren't here, so I
So the door's open.
True. I mean, that is true. They're not.
If the chair is open, then the chair could be yours, mate. And you do look lovely. You look lovely in that corner of the screen, pal.
So kind. Thank you very much.
This is going to be such a crowded screen by the end of FM24, isn't it? There's going to be like 12 of us all crammed in on this screen. Welcome to the FMT pod with the team. All 12 of us.
Exactly. We do a polite intro, find out how everyone's doing, then we just sign off. That's all it is. Has anyone played Football Manager this week? Yeah, good. See you next week, everybody.
Still a banger of a theme tune, though. Let's face it.
Great theme tune.
Yeah.
Great theme tune. Great times. Great people. Josh, before we kind of dive into it, I suppose what we're going to ask you for, if that's okay, pal, if you had to give us a brief summary of who you are and what you're about, because there might be people watching or listening to this podcast who have never experienced Josh Peach before. It's unlikely. It's enormously unlikely. Like you see Josh Peach, you know Josh Peach, but just in case they don't know, who are you, pal? What's the message behind you? Who is Josh Peach?
Who am I? I would say I am a below par FM player who streams and makes content more for people to laugh at me and understand that not everyone who makes content wins at the game all the time. So it's okay to be bad at it and just play it. And basically, I like interacting with viewers more than I like winning the game. So it provides some interesting results on stream and through the content. So yeah, I'd say that, something like that.
You and I are going to get on so well.
You are in.
Who needs to be
company,
good at the
mate.
game when you can have a good chat?
Being good is overrated. We'll leave that to RDF and Zealand. They can have that part of it. We'll just vibe. Okay.
We'll just chat. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. We've said this for years, right? There are 2 schools of Football Manager content that people watch. There's the one column, or there's the one group of people that you watch because you want to learn about the game, and that's it. You watch a Zealand, you watch an RDF, you go to the manager's seat and you watch those guys, and you're like, I'm going to learn something today, and I'm going to get better at the game. And then there are other people, you go there to be entertained. You're going to hop into a stream. It's like that they don't know what a Segundo Volante is.
Nah.
They've got absolutely no idea whatsoever. But I tell you what, they're going to lose some games and they're going to have a good time doing it. And I'm going to enjoy it with them. And welcome, brother. Take a seat by the fire. It's lovely here. It is lovely. Look, you do, and we said before we recorded, multifaceted man, Josh Peach. Because, mate, you do it all. You literally do it all. You are a busy boy because you stream, you make the YouTube content, you're on TikTok. Mate, you are literally everywhere. I mean, we've got a really nice cross section of people here, actually, I suppose, because Kev has got previous experience from streaming and creating YouTube content. Our boy Callum has recently started making YouTube content due to time constraints. I'm too lazy to make YouTube content, so I just stream because I just don't have the capacity to learn another new skill. I guess if we start our journey, look, before the content creation came around, the love for FM must have been there. Yes.
Yes,
Wh-
yeah, 100%.
Take us back, mate. When did you play this game for fun? I suppose is the best way of asking that question.
It would have started a long time ago. I remember playing the first FM I got on PC would have been FM 14, I want to say 14, 15. So that would have been a 14, 15-year-old Beachy knowing nothing. I remember my first ever game on FM PC. I managed Arsenal and I did the under-21 friendly and I got battered like 6-0. And I didn't touch the game again for like half a year. I was like, no, this is not for me. Get back to FIFA. I'll be okay. But I mean, I reckon it goes even back before that because my stepdad had a PSP, loved the PSP. And I think he had Champ Manager maybe 08, I want to say, if that was on PSP, something like that. So I remember like watching him play it all the time and being intrigued by it. And I remember like when he wasn't playing, I'd be like, oh, can I play it? And again, for some reason, I managed Arsenal then as well. And I remember like having Gilberto Silva and that as an 8-year-old and not really know what's going on. But I remember like the players. I don't know if anyone else can remember what game this is, but instead of them being like the classic 2D dots, they looked a bit more like Tic Tac shape, I'd say, and they would like fly around. I want to say that was like Champ Manager 08, but like that's my first memory. And then so I played 14, 15 on PC, played it on like mobile and that, and the years before that between the Champ Manager 08 and then left it for a while and kind of came back to it around FM 19, and then lockdown FM 20 is when it all went bang, and then we started streaming, and then it all just grew from there really.
No, I think in fairness, mate, a very similar journey to a lot of people in terms of the Football Manager, you know, because you are, I've just done some maths in my head and you are offensively young. I mean, although,
oh no,
I mean, we say that, but you know, you do fit in because on the podcast, we're all 24 anyway. So we're all actually a similar kind of age.
In the contract.
If the maths works out. Yeah, it's contractually, we're all 24 years old. The episode where Jeb admitted that he's in his late 30s. No, don't listen to that.
It's not canon.
No, it's not canon. Didn't count. It didn't count. That was a spin-off episode. We're all definitely 24. But I think a lot of people that make content, I think they were drawn to FM. A lot of people start out with like your FIFA series or your Pro Evos. And then after a while, it just like you want something more from your footballing experience. I mean, Kev, I don't think I've ever really asked you the FIFA question. I don't think it's ever really come up. Were you a FIFA guy back in the day?
What is this FIFA that you speak of? No, simply put, no. I used to play sensible soccer in the day, back in the day, long time ago now. But to be totally truthful, I think I've probably owned one FIFA and played it for about 2 weeks and then gave it up. Other than that, I occasionally have a game with somebody if I'm around at their place and they've got it. But it just doesn't get me somehow. I'm more of a tactical mind rather than can I dribble round 3 people, get to the byline and put it back to the 6-yard box to tap in or whatever it is that is the meta on FIFA. I genuinely don't know because I don't play it. But yeah, it's not something that ever really caught my attention enough.
No. I mean, for somebody that's not played it, you've just described the current version or the EFC.
Yeah, you've done very well.
That is literally all it is. Cut to the byline, back across the box and score, and then get angry messages from 12-year-olds on their PSN or Xbox Live. It's hope it never changes. I hope it never changes. But once you kind of, you know, say so 14, 15, those were your formative memories, and then 20 went big over lockdown. I mean, what was if you look back to, you know, we all had a lot of time on our hands, or most people did during lockdown. Was there something about Football Manager that's made you go, right, this is the one now, or is it just more of a, I've got time to throw myself into this now and let's just kind of see where it goes?
I imagine it was kind of a bit of both when I look back. So FM 19, as I said, is when like it really reignited that this is my game. Like I remember playing so many hours, and that's probably when you say, what's the last game you played for fun? Like we all have fun making content on it and stuff like that, but playing the game just for me was probably FM19. So that kind of carried over into FM20. And then I remember, because I was just editing from home in my job, so it was quite a lonely time in my bedroom, just literally staring at a screen all day. And the second screen entertainment was always Twitch, was always a Twitch stream. And because of playing so much FM, it turned out to be watching lots of FM as well. And I remember watching Dr. Benji at a Boston save, and I watched that every day. I used to go live at like 12 every day, I want to say. And he just did it again and again and again and again and again, like every day. I was always there. That was like my routine. And I remember some people just asking in the chat stuff like, oh, how do I start streaming? How do I get into this? And it hadn't crossed my mind at all. Like I've always loved creating videos and creating things, which is probably why I do try and do so much now, because I can't ever let it rest. But then it wasn't until someone else was asking those questions in the chat when I was watching, I was kind of like, oh, actually, maybe I could do this. Maybe that this is, because all you've got to do, he was just saying, all you got to do is just start doing it. As long as you're having fun, you'll be fine. And I was like, I can have fun. I can do that. That's easy. And it was almost, especially because it was lockdown and there wasn't, we couldn't go and see anyone. And to be fair, all of my friends are FIFA people. No one's an FM person. So it was always playing a game. And if I had a problem, it would be YouTube. Or like if I want to talk to someone about me winning a trophy, it would be, I don't know, message someone else who lives far away who does play the game. None of my like immediate friends. So it was almost like that other way of connecting to like-minded FM people who could, I could kind of share the journey with of a save. And I never expected to be as fun. Expected it to be as fun as it is, or connect with as many people as I have done. So it's it's probably one of the best decisions I've ever made, is just trying it.
Ben's got a lot to answer for, hasn't he? Because he was my routine as well. My question about that is a little bit a step even further back. How did you discover that somebody else was putting content out about Football Manager? Because up until the fact I randomly found a video of Ben's on YouTube, just completely out of the blue, I didn't know anybody was doing it, or that I could have done it like a decade earlier than I did. So how did you discover that somebody else was doing it?
You make a great point there, actually, because I remember playing, or I don't know which FM it was, but it was one of the very, very early ones. So we're talking earlier than 19, one of like the 14, 15. And I remember finding a Work the Space video, but not knowing it was Work the Space until like 2021, 23, when I came back to it. And I was like, oh, wow, that must have been who I watched back then. And I can't remember what save it was or whatever. But as you say, I remember seeing it and thinking, wow, people are actually playing this game. And the point you make actually about how you just stumbled across a Ben video, when I was playing FM19, the save I was doing, and the reason I started then was because Kings Lynn Town, my local side, had got promoted into the National League North, or the National League for the first time. I can't remember which one it was. So it must have been National League North. And that was the first time they were in the game. So like everyone around Kings Lynn, even if they hadn't played FM, were like, oh my God, we've got to play it because like our lads are in the game. Like, this is going to be crazy. And that year, Lelujo started his non-league to legend in Kings Lynn. So like my mates were then sending these videos around like, oh, look, this guy who's actually like a proper YouTuber is making a video about Kings Lynn and stuff like that. So I started watching that. And then he was at a game and I used to go to Kings Lynn games. So then I met Lelujo at a Kings Lynn game. And I suppose that's probably where it started really. So that was before COVID. And I didn't think about making videos myself then, but then fast forward to that year of awful COVIDness. And then it all blew up from there.
Amazing.
I think, COVID has a lot to answer for. I think there are a lot of people, because it's a really weird transition, isn't it? Because I think one of the things you've touched on there, mate, is really interesting to me, because there's so many people that I've met through Football Manager that create content, or even if it's just people that hang out in the streams, like people from the chats. Loads of people who I've spoken to about this game spend a lot of time now, especially watching it on Twitch or consuming YouTube content, because very much like you, they don't have mates that want to play FM. Like I think there's like a government thing. I think we're spread out across the country. People that enjoy FM aren't allowed to live within 5 miles of each other. I just don't think they're allowed to, because I look at all of my friends, like my closest friends, kind of in like local to me, I met at an internet cafe when we were 15. Like we used to hang out and play LAN games together in an internet cafe. Like my friends come from a video game background. None of them have any interest in Football Manager whatsoever. Literally none. Like nobody I know.
Like I don't understand.
Like,
Same with me.
It's mad, isn't it? It's mad. I mean, I guess I'm more of an age, I guess, where there wasn't as much kind of. You had the kids that were interested in video games. You had the kids that were interested in football, and never the two should meet. it was like, there wasn't very much crossover, FIFA, but you're talking like FIFA 98 when I was at high school. That was maybe somebody would bring in like an N64 at Christmas, and like you'd all sit down and play like FIFA or International Superstar Soccer together. And you're like, oh, okay, well this is nice. This is nice. It's like, it's peacetime. It's peacetime. It's England to Germany kicking the ball around in the trenches on Christmas Day during the First World War. And then, come January, straight back to animosity and just not liking each other very much. But it's that lack of connection with people in reality that play the game. It just doesn't happen very much. And I think just finding it online in the first instance, it's not like, for me, it wasn't there are people that play this on the internet, I must also create content around this game that I love. You just sit there and go, oh my God, they're out there. This is amazing. People like Football Manager, and then you just throw yourself into like Lelujo's non-leagues to legends, or like or the Park to Prem series, anything like that. You like just sit back, you're like, wow, this exists and this is brilliant. And it wasn't until suddenly half the world had time on their hands 3 or 4 years ago to go, oh, actually, maybe it's time I had a go at this myself. The initial joy of finding out there are other people out there that enjoy doing what you enjoy at the same time. It's a really, really lovely feeling. And I think it's overlooked in other communities, because if you say to somebody, oh, do you play FIFA? Most people are like, yeah, I play FIFA. As well, do you play Call of Duty? Yeah, I play Call of Duty. So do you play Football Manager? How dare you? How I would never.
What?
So it is a lovely, lovely feeling. I mean, you've been around for a little while. I mean, in terms of the wider community of people that you've meet and you now kind of engage with and spend time with on a regular basis, how nice is that feeling, having people around you, having friends that now enjoy the same thing as you? How does that feel?
Yeah, it's good. To be fair, like over the last couple of years, I feel like the franchise itself has grown massively, that especially with the introduction of console version, that, to be fair, people who I just met through life have now started playing Football Manager. So I kind of feel like the game's going through a transition of becoming a little bit more mainstream anyway. But you're right, yeah, meeting people through streaming and content creation, especially if they've got the magic too of they make content and play FM, like to have people like that who I'm now close with is massive, because that was never a thing a few years ago. So yeah, it's really nice.
No, it's a wonderful, wonderful feeling, and I'm very, very grateful for it. In terms of the content that you make, you said earlier you are busy. You do a lot, content creation, and based around just football in general. Not just limited to Football Manager, but I suppose we'll talk a little bit more in depth about that later. You're on as we talked about earlier, you're on all the platforms. You stream on Twitch. You're creating YouTube videos. You're incredibly active on sites like TikTok. Of the two main kind of content streaming platforms, or putting the longer form videos out there, or the longer form content creation, of the Twitches and the YouTubes, is there one of those that you kind of have a preference towards in terms of what it is that you do?
100%. I would, if you gave me YouTube or Twitch and I can only do one for the rest of my life, I'm doing Twitch all day long, because the interaction with people is the reason that I started it in the first place, and it's still the reason I do it now. Like, YouTube is great, and I love putting together that really polished, packaged video that you put up there, and then people can go and find at any point, and they jump in the comments and they share with their friends and that stuff. But having that instant reaction, so when your right back puts one in your own net from 40 yards out and everyone else is laughing at you, that I love. Like, to know that I've made someone else laugh at my misfortune, absolutely fine. That's okay. Whereas you don't really get that with YouTube. Even if things go horribly wrong, at that point in time, you're the one person sitting there reacting to it, and you know that you've got to edit it in a way to make it most effective and get the emotion out afterwards, which is sometimes really difficult to do. Which, like, I find a lot, as you said, mentioned the TikToks, there are funny things which happen on my streams, and that's what make up a lot of my TikTok content. I'm not saying that's me being really funny, I'm saying that's the game being funny at me. But making that into a funnier moment to put onto a different platform after it's happened is sometimes really difficult, because at that moment you remember, this moment is so funny. I remember when, I don't know, we couldn't sign a player for £1 because we were so broke, and in the stream it's hilarious, and then you go to do it on TikTok and you're like, it's actually not funny at all. I don't know why we were all laughing about it, but it's all the build up. You've had 45 minutes of pre-chat of who can we sign, and you get to that point, you've nailed your target, this is the guy, and you've got £0, in the account and actually look and you're £405 million in debt as Kingsland Town in the National League North, and it's gone horribly wrong. So yeah, I definitely say streaming over YouTube content. But then if you throw TikTok into that mix, that's a very difficult question for me, I do think.
Oh, that's interesting. So TikTok is a more recent phenomenon, I guess. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. But one of the things I wanted to catch up on was, so you originally said that you've seen a Lelujo video in the past. You saw a Workspace one way back in the day, and then you watched Dr. Benji stream, and heard people asking the question about how you do it and all that stuff. So which came first for you? Did you put a video out, or did you put a live stream out first? What was the first interaction with content?
So with content, I've made YouTube videos like away from Football Manager since I was like 12, 13. There are some horrific videos on YouTube of young Peachy. If you can find them, hats off to you, but they are horrendous. And they're still there because I can't get into the account to take them down. So I do know where they are, but please don't try and find them. So when it came to Football Manager, though, when we got through to lockdown, it was a live stream that happened first because I thought that would be, as I said, the straight away, the instant interaction was kind of what I wanted to try, because I always like trying new things. Like we mentioned before the pre-record, we might talk about it in a bit. I really want to start a podcast. I don't know where that leads, but I'm just going to keep talking it and manifest it, and eventually it'll happen. And that's why I started TikTok and why I started streaming. So the streams was just, I watched someone else do it. I've never done that before. Let's see how it goes, and we'll give it a go that way. So
that's fantastic. And then TikTok comes out of that. Is that just because you've got the skill set, I guess, just to make very quick little snippet things and chuck it out there? Because for me personally, when I was thinking of transitioning from YouTube to Twitch a little while ago, because I thought I was going to be better at streaming than I was at video making, was my issue in that sense. The thought of then editing little things together and putting them in a snappy way and chucking them on TikTok, I can't get my head around it. It's not my skill set somehow, so I've never done it. But how did that come about then, from the streams and the YouTubes into TikTok?
So I've only been uploading on TikTok for just over a year now. So the love of TikTok as a platform kind of formed at work, and I, through my current job now, my one previous, I make a lot of short form content in terms of football, and it's probably my favorite type of editing in general. I think that again now comes into the FM as well. But I kind of, because I had the bug of it away from FM, eventually it crept in, and I was like, is there a way that I can do this for Football Manager? Because I always, it's the same thing with the podcast. I kind of go through these stages where I just say, oh, I wish I could make TikToks. I wish I could do that. And eventually it will just get to a point where I'm like, oh, just do it. Stop talking about it. Just do it. And it got to that point. I made one straight away about a regen name called Mike Crotch. And that was the first one. And I remember it didn't do very well to start with, and I didn't expect it to. I didn't know if the audience was there. And the next day I woke up and had 20k views. And I was like, okay, maybe the audience is out there for Football Manager if TikTok can kind of put my videos in front of the right people. And it went massive. I don't really know how it's happened, but it's gone pretty well. Yeah.
No, it absolutely is. And as you say, I think a lot of the time, for example, we do it. I say we. Jeb does it for us. So we've got some YouTube shorts out there. We have a TikTok channel, which is it's in the Linktree link in our description for pod. Jebaroo is completely in charge of that, because he is very, very good at identifying those moments. Because I think that's the hardest thing to do, because sometimes, as you say, something will happen on stream and it's brilliant and it's one of the highlights of your day, but there's 45 minutes of context to it that's happened before that doesn't come across in a 10-15 second video. So it's difficult. But Jebaroo is very, very good at picking up on those moments when they happen. And just they go up on TikTok or they go up on YouTube Shorts, kind of, if it's in at the same time as the episodes go up, and he's brilliant at it. And he's really, really good at putting them all together. In terms of when you're streaming, if something happened, how good are you at identifying something that's happened over the course of a stream, for example, when these things happen, is there like there's a little light goes on in the back of your mind, go, right, this is the moment. Let's just make a quick note of how long into the stream we are here, because this is going to be the next TikTok upload. Or are you always on when it comes to like looking out for those moments, or does it kind of you close the stream down, go, oh, actually there's something good happened today, I reckon there might be some legs to it? But how does it work for you in terms of that process?
It's a bit of both, really. I wish I was a lot better at identifying the moments as they happen. I've got like this like electronic pad here where I try and write things down really quickly if something happens on a stream, or I've got like a clip button on my stream deck to try and clip things, and then at least it gives me a rough reminder of where it was so I can go back and figure it out. But I often get to the end of the stream, as you say, and think, oh no, there's two things happened today and I don't know where they are. So I then have to go through and try and figure out where they are. And the annoying thing is, I find it, especially with TikTok over every other platform, is that it's so, how do I describe it? Inconsistent in a way, or difficult to figure out what is going to work and what isn't. Sometimes I make one and I'm like, yeah, this is that I think this could do well. I'm going to put all my eggs in this basket. I'm going to spend longer on this one than normal, and it'll flop. And then you'll have one where it's like an okay moment. You think, oh, it's quite funny, but it's okay. And then you put it out and it like out of nowhere, everybody share it goes massive. And you're like, how has that happened? I've literally spent 10 minutes on this one. The one I've just spent 8 hours on editing 2 legs of a Champions League semi-final together. Why are we not looking at that one, lads? What's going on there? So yeah, it's weird to know which one's going to do well, which then makes it a little bit harder to identify which parts I actually want to keep of a stream and which ones I don't. So
no, which makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Like I say, we're lucky that we have a Jebbaroo, because he's so good at picking those moments. Big up, Jeb. He's in the Isle of Man filming pool again. Wasn't an excuse last week, Callum. We promise it wasn't an excuse. He is actually there. No, this is the thing, we're lucky that we have him, because, like I say, it's like he sometimes just doesn't even tell us that he's doing it. It just pops up the next day. We had a wonderful moment in our network save a few months ago where he left the password off, and then we had somebody joined the network game, and they managed Arsenal for about 2 minutes in game, and they had a quite interesting name, as it turns out. But we still think about Jamie often. Jamie and his appendage. We think about it all the time, and that happens. Like in the moment, I'm like, oh, this is just funny. This is just a funny thing that's happened over the course of this stream. And then the next day, a really, really well edited YouTube short just pops up. You're like, he's clicked that, he's twigged that, and he's not said, oh, by the way, I'm gonna make something out of this. He's like, no, it's just there the next day. It's a really, really nice thing to have, because I think would you say the success of your TikTok is drawing eyes to the other content that you're making, be it YouTube or Twitch? Have you seen a correlation between your popularity and your rise on TikTok? Have you seen numbers going up in terms of other content that you make?
1,000,000%. Yeah, it has been massive. I've always listened to Lelujo and Dr. Benji and Omega Luke's another great example, where they're like, make content outside of streams and you'll see the stream numbers go up. And I didn't believe it. I just thought, I don't have to do that. Like, this isn't what I'm doing it for. I'm just doing it to have fun, as I said, to start with, like interact with those people. And I started making the TikToks, and as you say, yeah, it went like, it really boomed. Like, I went from maybe 25 average viewers at the start of FM23, and then I started uploading the TikToks. I mean, we hit partner by January, I think. So you've got to an average 75 for basically 2 months or so, at least. And it was like, hitting partner was something that was always so far in the distance. Not something I wanted to do, but something that I didn't really aim for. It was never a possibility, really. And it just happened. And I was like, how has this happened? And I mean, even today, I'd say the majority of my followers join and then type in the chat, their first message is, oh, I've seen you on TikTok. And it's like, oh yeah, cool, thanks, welcome in. So it's massive. And that would be my biggest tip at TikTok, especially because of how poor discoverability is on Twitch. If you're genuinely doing this to look to grow, you need to make content outside. And the easiest way in, because discoverability is off the chain, is TikTok, because there's always another video in front of your face straight away. You swipe and you're there. Probably pretty bad for like mentally and how it traps people and stuff like that. So that's a different side of it. It's probably not a very healthy platform. But if you're looking to grow on Twitch, selfishly, it's brilliant.
I have a number of people that I either live with, the wife, or other people that just go down a rabbit hole of TikTok. It's never a platform that I've particularly investigated for. Just I prefer slightly longer content, I guess, for myself. But the amount of stuff you just turn around and say what you're watching. She goes, I've no idea, but I'm about 70 videos in, and this is some random weird thing, but it's kind of interesting, you know? Yeah.
This is it. It's brilliant. Like, again, that people in my household also, my wife, very, very interested in it, and my kids as well. They love it because it's the attention span thing. Like, you know, it's like, right, here's a 15-second video, or here's a 10-second video. Right, here's another one. Here's another one. Here's another one. Here's another one. And it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And, you know, because I'm of a generation, my initial response to it was like, oh, I'm not learning about another social media app. How dare you? Whereas now I'm like, oh, it's probably the kind of thing that probably need to start paying a little bit more attention to, because it is now one of the biggest social media platforms in the world. And, you know, I'm very slow, basically, that I'm slowly becoming my dad. I think that's the problem. I'm just refusing to believe it. To the point I do jokes on stage about it. It's and I just come across like a really, really miserable old man, which is weird considering I'm 24.
There's something I wanted to clarify here with Josh was, so you said earlier about YouTube and the difference between YouTube and streaming as to why you would prefer to be a streamer over a YouTuber if you had to pick one, but then TikTok becomes another thing in the mix of what would I prefer to do. So the one thing that I'd like to understand a little bit, because I've done YouTube and I've done streaming at different points, and I relate to the thought of the immediate thing of being a streamer is the key for me. Over the fact you put something on the internet and somebody might find it at some point. Do you have any sense of who your community is or your viewership is on TikTok? Or is it kind of even more so just numbers compared to even what YouTube is, and then over streaming being the one where you can identify everything, if that makes sense? How does that work?
It's a good point, to be fair. I suppose I don't really. It is just numbers. I mean, like, you always get your analytics and stuff like that. But I think the reason why it intrigues me a little bit more than a YouTube and a Twitch is because, like, that the build of the platform is so different, where the barrier to entry of creation is so low compared to, like, especially YouTube now and Twitch to a certain extent, where you've got people spending millions of pounds on YouTube videos. Like, the top people we're talking, like, they're spending so much money to capture your attention, and this is it. This is where we are. And they always say, like, your thumbnail and your title is more sometimes more important than your content, because people have got to get into the video and start watching it. Whereas you don't have that on TikTok. You've got to make that impression from the minute they swipe down, and they know that if they don't connect with your video within that first half a second, say, like, it generally could be that short, but they've got another one below waiting for them. And if they don't connect that one, they go again, they go again, they go again. So I find that almost capturing someone's attention, and you're like, oh, what's this? I find that part of it fascinating, because the next video is so easily accessible, and you haven't got long to keep them in there. And especially now, TikTok itself as a platform is trying to push people to make longer than 1 minute videos. So to get someone in and then continue watching for a minute on a platform where it's famous for the most viral video being 11 seconds long is such almost a challenge, I guess. I quite like, of thinking, right, if I can make you watch a minute and 10 seconds here, something worked. It's worked out. So I think that's why I like, and I also stream on TikTok as well. So I guess that's kind of cheating in a way to say that I take it instead of Twitch, because I still stream on there as well. So I feel like that was very geeky, by the way. So apologies for people if don't want to hear much about how it works.
We like
this is what we're here for. This is what we're here for. Let it all out, man. Let it all out. You're among friends. It's okay. It's okay to nerd out over these kind of things. I mean, that again, that's really interesting to me, because I'm so removed isn't necessarily the right word, but because I'm just not as up to date with TikTok as a platform as I should be. Like, I didn't know there was the option of the longer videos. I thought, the fact that it's short form, like, I thought that's the hook. It's short videos, bam, 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 bam. Like, it's engaging short form engaging content, and you just carry on. I didn't realize that the longer form videos were an option on there. It ruins one of my bits when I gig, because I ask people if they use TikTok and they say yes, they need to start talking about TV. I'm like, oh, for the people under 30 in the room, TV programs are like long form TikToks. They go on for about half an hour. Isn't being old funny? And now it's actually going to be a thing, and I'm furious, absolutely furious. In terms of your YouTube content, and I guess this slightly starts to segue us into kind of, other things that you do. If there's one thing that you can say about a Josh Peach YouTube video, and again, this just translates into the TikTok content as well, is that your production values are second to none. They are exceptionally good, like to the point where I've spent a bit of my morning this morning watching the Barcelona and Real Madrid in the Premier League. The quality of production in that video and the values are sensational. And the only real comparison that you have, in my mind, not even the fact that it's based around FM content, is when you watch significantly bigger YouTube creators or your YouTube content creators who hire professional editors to make the content for them. They're like, right, here's the idea. I'm going to film it. Here's the raw footage. Please make this look beautiful. And you do that, and it's your idea, and it's your editing, and that's all you. Like, just in general, mate, hats off. It's absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
I know in terms of what you do for a living, and like I say, this is kind of a bit of a segue into that. Is there a little element of that where it's like, you know what, I'm gonna flex a new thing that I've learned this week. I'm gonna flex some new techniques that I know, and I'm also going to apply it to my YouTube. Do you think the production values that you bring to that is that something that you strive to do every video? Do you feel like, given what you do for a living, you could ever phone it in, or is it every video in terms of the production, it has to be the best that it can possibly be?
Well, thank you. Firstly, that's very kind. You didn't have to say that. I kind of feel like I'm cheating in a way because, as you say, I am literally a professional editor. So I'm the person who has to sit in front of camera, and then I know when I'm filming it, all right, I'm going to put this cut in here to make this do this and stuff like that. So it's probably cheating in a way, even though I don't send it to anyone else. I would say that my YouTube videos don't go as far as what I would do in a day-to-day video for like my actual job. It never goes that far, but I would definitely say, and people have definitely said before, that I'm a perfectionist, and probably too much of a perfectionist. Like, I can't just leave something as it is, and I can't do a that'll do video because it just would get to me so much. And I kind of feel like with the people that know I am an editor, like, people have asked me in the community, like, how do you do this and stuff like that, and like, I've helped some people out. If I then made a video which was really bad, like, it would hurt my brain, and people would just be like, well, this guy gets paid to do this. Like, what is he doing? Like, this is not good. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely as I said, I love creating videos and creating content, which is why I do so much. And YouTube's kind of something that I've revisited recently. I think I've only made, since FM24, I've made like one Let's Play series, like 8 videos. And then, as you said about the experiment, a couple of experiment videos. And I think that's kind of where I want to go. But I'm trying something at the moment to make videos on YouTube about Football Manager without having Football Manager actually in them, if you know what I mean. That's kind of my game at the moment with myself. So I did like a top 10 teams of who to manage at the start, and you don't see any clip, any screenshot or anything of Football Manager in that whole video. Yeah, it's about Football Manager, and it's one of my best videos in terms of views since I came back. And the same with the Barcelona Real Madrid one. It has screenshots of Football Manager, but you never see my face in the corner and Football Manager as the full screen throughout the whole video, because I always want to make it that you're watching me present to you my experiment rather than you living it with me. I don't know. It may probably wrong. People probably want to see themselves like as it goes through, and a nice methodical way of looking at things. Whereas I'm like bang, 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 bang. Like Lewandowski is top goal scorer. Then they signed Calvert-Lewin, and then they finished 8th, and it went wrong. And then De Zerbi's managing Real Madrid. So it's like bang, 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 bang. So almost making lots of short form videos into one long form, because I think short form editing is what I'm best at. So. I don't really know if that made sense, but
that's amazing. I mean, I will confess that it's completely the opposite to how my brain works. For anything that I do, I need to sit and be in it for a little while rather than just go bang, 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 bang. Yeah. Next one. I can't. It's just not how my brain works to create stuff. So I'm in awe of that. I mean, earlier you mentioned that there's some very slightly poor videos out there of young Josh Peach potentially on the YouTube that you created. When you were doing that, I don't know which way round this works in terms of editing or producing videos or coming up with ideas. How does that fit together for a young guy to figure out? And where did your love of editing and video production stem from?
Oof. So I've always, I remember like as a kid, you know, I don't know why I remember this, but I literally remember, I don't know, 7, 8, imagining like when you're just playing football, whatever. I'd imagine it was like match of the day. Like I'd always think of things as TV shows and stuff like that, and just was how I live my life sometimes, just as a kid, like with you in your own head. I never really thought, it didn't really make sense to me that I would end up being in like editing industry, if you can call it that, or like filming things. I didn't really think that would go there, but like now I look back, it all makes sense. Like this is what I've always wanted to do. So like the videos I say when I was like 13 was me just talking to a camera about like what gaming videos I was going to make and stuff like that. It's horrendous, some of the videos. And then I went to London on a day out one day and did a vlog. Like it was always something, I think because I've always consumed a lot of YouTube and a lot of YouTubers, that it had an influence on me and thought, oh yeah, like I want to do this. And then the actual editing side of it, I started just teaching myself through making those videos. So I would have been 15, 16-ish, teaching myself how to edit always in my spare time, never really thinking it was something that I wanted to do properly. And then it wasn't until, it's quite a funny story actually. I don't feel like people believe it sometimes because it's a pretty horrible thing what my teacher said to me. But when I was in sixth form, I went to a different sixth form. I finished school, went to a different sixth form. Hated it so much. And part of the reason is because I started doing physics, believe it or not. I cannot do physics. Why that was ever a good choice, I don't know. But out of the 4 subjects, the other 3 were pretty horrendous. But my physics teacher genuinely after the first lesson said to me, Josh, I'm not sure you've got the brain capacity for physics. And I was like, all right, okay, good. Thanks for that. So I carried on for a little bit. I think I did like 2 weeks or something like that, maybe a bit longer. And he came to me again. He said, like you're not getting this. And I was like, yeah, no, I know you're right. I just don't want to give up. Like, I know you're right. So I went to my head of sixth form and was like, all right, I need to do something else. I can't do physics anymore. And he was like, yeah, but we've got nothing. He said, the only space we've got is in media. And I was like, yeah, but it's fine. I'll do media then. He's like, no, they're too far ahead. You won't catch up. And when someone says something like that to me, I mean, like, you've got me. I will catch up here and I will do it. So then I convinced him to let me into media. I went through media. I got an A in that first year. And that I absolutely loved media from that point onwards. I quit sixth form at the end of the first year, got my A in that, messed up everything else. And then my business teacher said to me on the last day, because everyone was like, who's going to be here next year? Everyone put their hand up and not me. And I was just sat there like, I'm not being here next year. I'm getting out of here. And literally in front of the whole class, she said, they always say they leave. They never do. And I left. So I never went back. And I started doing a media course like full time. And it snowballed into what I'm doing now. So it was the best thing and the worst thing that my physics teacher could have ever said to me.
I love that. In your face, Josh Peach's sixth form. In your face. This is it. So I love the mentality. I absolutely love that mentality. Unfortunately, I'm the opposite of you. I had a very, very similar experience when I went to sixth form, and I had some quite harsh words from my head of sixth form about one of the options that I'd made. I wanted to do psychology when I went to sixth form because it was a new thing. And I thought, oh, this would be really, really interesting. And then a week before we were scheduled to start, my head of sixth form called me in for a meeting with my dad and my stepmom. And he sat me down and they said, so Richard has chosen psychology at A level. How do we put this delicately? We see Richard as more of a case study than a student of psychology. I was like, okay. And then my dad and my stepmom turned around. They both looked at me and went, "Yeah, no, I think that's fair enough. Yeah, we think that's reasonable." And I wish I'd been like, "I'll show you. I'm going to be the best psychology student ever." And I went, "Okay, sorry, fair enough. Now, okay, I'm really, really sorry. I'll just do something else instead. Sorry." And just completely bottled it. But look at me now. I've got my own podcast and hat and mustache. It's just those moments. You know what? It's really, really interesting being able to look and having that defining moment. And that's what, that happened. I'm going to prove everybody wrong. get into media, smash that, then go to college, do the bespoke course. I guess my next question is, because your job is quite incredible when you really stop and think about it. So if you don't know what Josh does, Josh, as I say, he works in video production, but he does it for a Premier League football club, which is quite incredible. The fact that Josh is here today is because the stars have aligned, and the Premier League club that Josh works for aren't playing until tomorrow night. We record this on Sunday mornings. It's this week's Monday night game. I mean, how does that come about? How do you get the gig working for Wolverhampton Wanderers? Like, where does that, because connect the dots for us from college, smash that, learn all about media production, like your skill set becomes, quite frankly, incredible. How do you get from there to working for professional football clubs? Like, that must be...
Yeah, it is crazy. I do really, really love my job. It is good fun. And as you say, it's that she combined my two passions of video creating and football. And I think when I was at college, that was one thing that if I could do, I wanted to try and do, was combine those two passions. And I started volunteering back to Kingsland Towns. The circle comes back around to them. I started volunteering, doing their highlights and filming their games and filming their post-match interviews when I was 16. I bought the camera, the same camera that I still use now, actually. This is the camera that I bought to kind of start to broaden my skills and kind of try and get into the industry that way. And I used to get driven around to all the games across the country and spend my whole weekend then editing them all together. If you can, I don't want you to find these, but if you can find these, there's some awful Josh Peach commentaries on highlights recorded when I was about 16, 17, which are pretty horrendous, but yeah, they exist. So that's where it started in terms of the football side. And then when I was doing that, and also at college, there was an apprenticeship job come up at my team, Norwich City, and they wanted a video apprentice basically to shadow the team, and who knows where it could go from there. So I was like, yeah, this is the one. And I remember I went to weird segue this, but we're going with it. I went to watch Britain's Got Talent's live semi-finals with my girlfriend Emily. And it was at that time when I was just on my phone trying to, I don't know whether I was looking at jobs or whatever, but that's where I stumbled across it, like on Indeed, if you must know. No paid promotion, but you can sponsor the podcast. It's a good podcast. And it was on there when I was like, I found it and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And I literally sat there, wasn't too interested in the actual show. And I sat there and I applied for it on my phone. Like, I tried everything. I sat there for the I don't know, 2.5 hours, however long the show was, and just read it all and read it again and again and again and again, and just made sure, like, this is the one. I'll do it now on my phone because I don't really care what's going on. And I sent it and I thought, that's it. That's fine. I didn't really think I had the qualifications for it because, as I said, I quit A levels after a year. I got an AS level, and then I did half. At this point, I'd done 1 year of my college course, so I hadn't actually finished anything. Like, there's no evidence that that I can do this and that I want to do this. Anyway, I got the interview and I went to the interview, and again, I was like, we'll come and see what happens. We might get it. And then literally the day after the interview, they rang me, and I volunteered, like, teaching kids how to play football. And they rang me during one of the sessions and were like, oh yeah, you've got it. We want you to start at the season, start for the season. And I was like, oh my days. It was unbelievable. I was like, we've done it. I was getting paid a tiny little apprentice wage, but I was into a football club. I was making videos. This is what I want to do. And I started 4 days before the 18-19 championship season, went to Birmingham away on the Saturday for the first game, and did all 46 games for that season in a video team of 2, and learned so much. It was mad. Did an awful initiation song in front of the squad, and it's genuinely my worst memory of my entire life. It was awful. I got heckled and everything. And yeah, from there I did 3.5 seasons at Norwich, two championship winning title seasons, 2 in the Premier League, and ended up at Wolves. They were looking for someone new, and I was like, I probably need to go somewhere else and see something else and learn more, basically. And Wolves are a very modern club in the way that they look at content creation and just areas outside of football. Like, there's a fashion brand, a record label. We've got Wolves Studios as an arm of our video team where we make documentaries. So that was what I saw as a big step up, but also can take me to new levels of what I can learn. So I really obviously loved my time at Norwich, and they're my club, and who knows what happens in the future. But right now, Wolves is great, and I'm learning so much. I learned so much at Norwich, and I kind of thought in a way that there wasn't that much more to learn, like really naively of me. And I've been at Wolves a year and a half now, and I am so much of a better video producer than I was when I started back then.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Right. The first and most important question here: what was the induction song? I need to know.
Oh, it's really bad. And I actually said I was going to tell this on stream. I didn't expect to be telling this today, I'll be honest. But I will tell you the story. It's quite a long one. It's quite a long one.
This is now the therapy section of Football Manager Therapy. Don't worry, buddy. You're among friends.
I've already told you that I like long form content. So story away. It's fine. I'm sitting comfortably. You may begin.
Okay. Right. Well, it was Cardiff away. I'll set the scene. Cardiff away. Carabao Cup's first or second round, I think. First Carabao Cup game I'd worked anyway. And early September, so I started in the August. 18-year-old naive video producer apprentice Josh Peach got to fly with the team for the first time to this game. So I was like, wow, like this is mad. Like I didn't expect this to be part of the job when I started. Flew to Cardiff. As we were walking up the steps, like everyone getting their stuff off the bus and that, walking up the steps, and my friend who was the journalist at the time turned to the new analyst and said, "Oh mate, you've got to sing tonight. Like, what are you singing?" And there's a bit in my head going, have I got to sing it? I haven't planned for this. Like I've always heard about initiation songs and stuff like that, but I was like, surely not me. This isn't going to be me. Anyway, and they were laughing about it, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, nah, it's not me. It'll be fine. We went up the stairs to the hotel, went straight in for food. So everyone eats together, like in a big hall, like everyone ready. And I was on the table with this analyst and they were talking about what he was going to sing. And he just suddenly turns at me and goes, "Oh, you've got to sing as well, mate." And I was like, my heart dropped. I was like, oh no, this is really bad. So then I was quickly trying to Google songs on my phone. I was like, Wonderwall, that's where we'll go. We'll go Wonderwall. I can't go wrong with Wonderwall. Googling it, trying to find the lyrics. My hands shaking. It was so bad. And the guys next to me were like, no, you can't have phones out of the table. Like the manager will flip. Like if he sees you, like it's the same with players. You can't have phones. Don't do that. So I was like, okay. I won't. Anyway, I finished food. Loads of people had to sing, actually. So it wasn't that part. I was like, okay, this isn't too bad. This will be fine. But for some reason, I thought if I just sit quietly, no one will know I'm here. So people were singing. They were going up. They were singing. It was fine. And like some of them got quite good reception. Some of them not, whatever. In the end, everyone just stopped. And then I was like, okay, I've got away with this. We're fine. And Daniel Farker, in fact, the manager of Norwich City at the time, turned to my friend, the journalist, and said, "You now?" And he said, "Oh, no. I've sang. It's not me." He goes, "No, the guy next to you." I was like, "Oh no, it's me. And I walked up there, and as I walked up there, my mate stitched me up and said in my ear as I walked past, "Make sure you introduce yourself because they don't know who you are." I was like, "Okay, yeah. I'll do that. I'll say who I am. It's fine. I'll do that." And I got to the front, and I was like, "Hi guys, I'm Josh. I'm the new video apprentice. Didn't know I was gonna have to sing today, but here we are." And one of the players goes, "Just sing." I was like, "Oh no!" I was like, "Okay, yep, okay, I'll sing." Started Wonderwall. They were like, "We've just had that from someone else. You can't repeat songs." I was like, "Oh no!" I was like, "This is awful. What do I do now?" And I can't remember what song it was, but I decided the one song that came into my head was a rap, and I started to try and rap, and obviously it was a bad idea. It was so bad, and I don't know. I got maybe 20 seconds into this, and it just got faster and faster, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is awful." I just went, "That'll do, won't it, lads?" And I walked off, and the whole place just burst out laughing, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is so bad." So yeah, it was bad. Yeah,
That's amazing. Tip for anybody doing that next time: just ask in the room if anybody's got a birthday and sing happy birthday to them. It's far simpler.
That's a good idea. Maybe I'll do that next time.
Yeah, exactly. Or tequila, did it? Just say tequila, walk off, done.
Yeah,
word perfect. Yeah, these are follow us for more tricks and tips when you're doing a football club initiation, because we've never done one, but Kevin and I know how it works. We know, darling, we know the industry. Indeed. That's quite sensational. Was it worse because Norwich are your team do you think it would have bothered you as much if that had just been Queen's Park Rangers or,
I think so. I
any
think it
other
still
club?
would have done.
Mhm.
I think just because I don't know really. I think I was going to say I think because I didn't know about it probably made it worse, but I don't know if it did. I don't know if I had time to think about it, whether I would just manifested it into something even worse than it was. But it was it was just horrendous. Like I think, as I said, like I'd only been there a month, and there was I was just so excited to be there still and be like, I'm flying with the team to a game. This is mad. Like, what is going on? And then that happened, and I was like, oh my god, I've made an idiot of myself in front of all of these people who I really idolize. It's kind of, as you say, like, oh, awful.
So, with regards to the Wolves job that you're currently doing, your video production with them, we're lucky to have you on today, as we said, because your Wolves team are going to be playing Monday night. So, what does a typical match day look like for you then, in terms of what your role within that day is, and what that actually means to you, and what that means for the rest of your working week? How does that all fit together?
In our video team, there are 6 of us altogether. So there's a few video producers, an assistant video manager, motion graphics, video manager, stuff like that, and a presenter as well. So there's quite a few of us in our team. A match day is kind of split into different roles. So you have someone who will do the highlight shift, who will just watch the game, log the game of all the chances and all the stuff that happens. Also log things for social videos. So if someone does a roulette or megs someone, you note that down to make a TikTok out of later down the line. And then we'll edit the highlights, and then you have someone who operates a camera behind the goal, behind the attacking goal. So we always make kind of alternative angle videos, would you say, of videos? So someone will be cam up in the whole day and providing videos for social media that day. So when the players arrive, when they warm up, stuff like that. And then you have like an editor as well who kind of mucks in, edits some of the camera up footage. We'll also edit a post match, and we'll also start editing the clips that were logged in the highlights to go out later in the week. So a lot of the work happens after the game is finished. But the cam up, of course, as well is working throughout the day. So from that, then during the week, it kind of depends on what happens in the game, how good the result is, who it's against, and stuff like that. And then that kind of forms how much content you make out of that game going forward.
And where does most of that end up? Is it on a Wolverhampton Wanderers YouTube channel, or does it go to other outlets? What's the thought there?
We make videos for YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and then we also have Wolves TV on the website. So a lot of the longer form stuff sits on there as well. But yeah, just all social medias and also Wolves TV. Yeah,
that's amazing. That's fantastic.
So in terms of, as you say, you will do alternative goal angles, you'll do like the skill highlights when bits and pieces like that happen during the game. Do you ever try and like pick up on kind of, external narrative, like things that might be happening kind of, in terms of news stories about the club? So the one that springs to mind for me for Wolves for this season, and again, this is because in the context of our FMT network game, for example, it kind of all comes, everything goes full circle around here. So Jeb is managing Wolves in our FMT network game. Wasn't overly enamored with Hwang Hee-chan at the start of our experience at the club. And then you had the start of this season, there's the infamous Pep Guardiola press conference where he refers to Hwang Hee-chan as, was it the other Korean guy? I think
just the Korean guy. Yeah.
The Korean guy. Yeah. Can't remember his name. And then from like, if that was me in that situation, I'm like, right, everything Hwang Hee-chan does today, every pass, every assist, every shot on target, like, right, he is going to be the focal point of what we're doing at the moment. Because after that comment, he's hit a purple patch. He's been absolutely flying recently in terms of his performances and his goal contributions. Are those the kind of things that happens? And it's almost like that. You go back to it's the YouTube, the YouTube video or the Twitch moment. Like, right, that is going on the TikTok. That happens. Like, right, this is what we're going to be. This is what we're doing for the next couple of days.
100%. So he said that. Excuse me. He said that on the Thursday, Pep Guardiola, and it went massive. Well, it didn't actually go that big initially. But the press conference was the Thursday, and I remember I think Sky Sports might have tweeted it out or something. I copied the link and I put it in our WhatsApp group. Said there's a TikTok in this if Hee-chan scores at the weekend, and he scored the winner. And I remember sitting in the press box and I spammed in the group chat, "There's the TikTok, there it is!" And then I was editing that day, so I went straight as soon as I could, and we finished everything else. I went straight into the edit suite and then edited together the TikTok, which smashed views on that night. So we went out that night at 10 p.m. because that's when the embargo is lifted for footage. It went out that day, and yeah, it went massive, millions of views. And I kind of think, I don't know whether people realize the Korean guy comment before the game, whether it kind of appeared afterwards, after he'd scored that goal and things like that. But yeah, Hee-chan is on fire at the minute.
This is it, because we now feel like we have a vested interest in Hwang Hee-chan's season, because it was the meme. It was one of the early things that happened in the network save that we all just picked up on. Like any kind of negotiation when Jeb was trying to sign players, either from us or just from the AI, Hwang Hee-chan was always involved in some capacity. So it's always there. Like whenever when he was scoring tail end of, like anything he did tail end of last season, straight in our group chat, like, oh, Hwang Hee-chan goal today. And then this season, because the name got mentioned in the press conferences, we were straight on it, like, oh, the Korean guy. And then it just from there, it's been every single week, just every assist, every goal, just anything that he does, we are so invested in his season. I hope it just carries on. I hope it carries on till May. I hope it's a Ballon d'Or worthy season from him, because it's just going to make us really happy.
So do I.
And also make Jeb look a bit silly. It's grand. It's absolutely grand. I guess that before we move on to a couple of more FME bits, I suppose, I think the last thing I would say to you is, you've worked for your club, you've worked for Norwich. Now working for Wolves, consistently, you're working for Wolves, like an established Premier League team at this point. I suppose in terms of your career, what do you have longer term ambitions? Or are you just happy to be now part of a well-established Premier League team? As you say, you're working under Norwich with a two-man team. You're now part of a team of 6. Have you got, in the long run, hey, maybe a European club come knocking, maybe a Champions League club come knocking, or at the moment you're just like, you know what, I'm just really, really enjoying what it is I get to do?
It's literally that. I'm just enjoying it. Like I wouldn't have, when I was doing the Kings Lynn highlights, I wouldn't have expected to be at Norwich. When I was at Norwich, I wouldn't have expected to move on to Wolves. So I'm just going with the flow, really appreciate what I do, and feel very lucky to be able to do it. And who knows what happens, eh?
Exactly. It's a good way of looking at things. I'll tell you what, let's meet in the middle. Wolves, if you're watching or listening to this, just qualify for Europe this year. Get Josh on holiday. Like that's there you go. It just means best of both worlds there. The absolute best of both worlds. I mean, I'm genuinely, I love to see nice people succeed. It's one of the things that makes me very, very happy. And it's just lovely that it's happening to you. And I'm absolutely
you're too kind, man. Thank you.
I am. Oh, trust me. Once we stop recording this, I'm just going to be horrible. Oh, what an absolute scumbag!
Bounce it out at least, right?
Stinky Josh Peach! How dare he? All right. Let's do some absolute balance then, shall we? Let's balance this, because I think we've been too kind. We've talked briefly about yours and Kev's difficult relationship with FM23. Obviously, we are now we're into the FM24 game cycle. The game, we've done the early access. Game is officially out now. In terms of move it back to the content creation side of things and the FM side of things. How are you finding FM24 so far? How's that going for you?
I think what I say and what people watching my stream would say would be very different. So I really enjoy the game. However, getting sacked after being third after 25 games with Kings Lynn and then finishing 3 points off getting relegated is quite impressive, if nothing else. And I think during some of those streams of the latter half of the season, it would look like I wasn't enjoying it. But I do. I actually do think it's a really, really, really good game. And we mentioned a little bit before we started recording that we don't really get time to play the game for fun as much anymore. And we said how barely ever at all in FM23. I have actually for this FM, I always say on stream, I only get time to play FM when I stream, which is kind of true. But I also have on days off had times where I've played the game just for fun. And that hasn't happened for a very long time. I really, really enjoy it.
That's amazing. I kind of feel a lot of the same things, if I'm honest. Myself and 23 were never the best of friends, and 24 and I are getting on famously, even though results don't always go my way. It's not about results, it's about the enjoyment and the feel of the game. So what tangibly has changed that you really appreciate about 24 then? What are the key bits within it that you look in now and think, that's why it's better for me?
I think positional play is so good. I didn't really realize how I didn't function with it beforehand. I love the fact that I have my target forward that ends up in left back at some points because my left back's decided, you know what, I fancy a goal and just heads up there. I love the fact that you can. It feels like when you build a tactic and when you make changes in game, you kind of see those have an effect on the game a lot more than you would do in 23. I kind of feel like sometimes in 23 you'd click the buttons because you know that's what should happen, that's what should work, and everyone does those buttons. But like, whereas this time I feel like, actually no, I know this player in this system, this left back better. Like if I pushed him up a little bit more, or I don't know, the inverted wing back role, for example. I did a Manchester United beta save. Wan-Bissaka as an inverted fullback, is so effective. And it just like you make that change, you change him from a fullback to an inverted fullback, and you see it all shift across, and you see someone step into midfield, and it just works. It's like, that's just the main thing, really. It just works. Like, you're making changes and it's actually changing the outcome of the game. Whereas I think before you could make so many changes and it just carry on. Like, the momentum wouldn't swing the other way. You just carry on losing 6-0. Not that happened very often, obviously, but yeah. So positional play is massive, and of course, everyone knows set plays or set pieces are just a different level this year. So I didn't actually listen to the podcast. Actually, it was the first time I realized you can make more than one corner tactic. Didn't know that was a thing. So thank you for that, guys. Appreciate
You're
that.
welcome.
Anytime, mate. Anytime.
The Wan-Bissaka thing is interesting. I'm a United fan, so I'm kind of connected to this particular group of players, and I've played them a fair bit over the years on Football Manager, not currently, but over the years. And the Wan-Bissaka thing is, immediately I thought inverted fullback. Yeah, Wan-Bissaka is going to be amazing at that, because defensively in game he is so good.
20 tackling.
Yeah,
what's that about?
It's insane, isn't it? When I watch him IRL, I actually feel like in one-to-ones he's incredibly hard to get past. But there's just some other aspects of his game that don't quite work out as well to make a complete fullback in a lot of senses. But in that inverted role where you just sit him there and then just bring him in and just be that brick wall, I can see that really working. So I think, weirdly, it might be someone like Wan-Bissaka might be a big thing for PvP this year in terms of building up players and teamworks and other bits and pieces. That might really work for you. So I get that totally, but that's really cool. And I mean, the set piece thing is madness, isn't it? It's amazing what they did to reshape that and instill new stuff. And over the last week or so, I've really discovered actually trialing out other things other than a near post corner is really beneficial to you. There's a lot that works. Short corners, I'm getting some joy out of this time around, which is really kind of fun to do. So yeah, I get all of that. It's an incredible thing that they've done this time around.
It really is. It really is. Has there ever been the temptation? Because say you play a lot of FM, and you know you're aware, when you start to, as soon as you start talking about things like positional play, you're like, right, okay, this guy gets it. This guy, Josh knows ball. Have there ever been circumstances where, like, look, you're spending a lot of time around the Premier League squad, and maybe an accidental scrap of paper might get left by maybe next to one of the coaches, like, what's this? This is a new short corner routine. Oh God, I don't know where I found this, but maybe this would be of interest to you. Or do you just like, no, I'm just going to leave well alone?
No.
Yeah, exactly.
I can leave them to it. It's okay.
They know what they're up to.
I feel like Football Manager definitely makes it a lot more fascinating watching a Premier League football team train. Like, it's fascinating anyway, but when you're like, oh, actually, maybe I should be trying that out. Maybe I need to make sure that happens. So when I'm there filming training, and like, there are bits obviously you can't put out because tactical stuff stays within the club. You don't want to give anybody else any more help. So when you're watching it and you don't actually have to film, you're like, wow, actually, that's very good idea. Why didn't I do that? So. Yeah, that's as far as it goes. I wouldn't ever suggest anything. I don't know anything about football compared to Premier League coaches.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? Because I'm sure everyone's seen the story recently, the Bromley story, where they are now looking for a IRL tactician based around players' football manager ability. You see, I look at that and there's just a part of me thinks, well, that's wonderful. Like, again, it's getting the chance to be involved in non-league setup because you never know where it leads. Josh Peach being the prime example of that. But also there's part of me that thinks, hey, I've won Champions Leagues, mate. The Bromley are beneath me. Get me in at West Ham. Honestly, I've got ideas, lads. I've got ideas. I'm a tactical mastermind, strikerless. I've been following Guido's blogs for ages. We're going strikerless at West Ham. No, pipe down, Moise. You don't know what you're talking about. I've got this. I've absolutely got this. Get pumped 15-0, and then I just leave. Oh my god, the dream, the absolute dream. No, I think it's no, it's, as I say, it's a bit tongue in cheek, really, isn't it? We appreciate you'd never really make those suggestions, but as I say, flip side of that coin, like I say, you're watching a Premier League team train, you're watching them set up, and again, if that's me, I've always been bad at the training side of things in Football Manager, and it's not like we covered it extensively last year, and I never really did anything with it. But like, if you're watching a Premier League team train on a regular basis, that's one of the aspects of the game that I don't put enough effort into. And if you ever wanted a blueprint for how to do it, you've literally got it in front of you. That's a really, really that's a very, very lucky position to be in, I suppose. Quite wonderful.
It really is. Although it doesn't stop me from never looking at training in FM ever. So yeah, I say how much. Oh yeah, it's really interesting to see that. Maybe I should do that. Never look at training ever. I would say I'm a very casual FM player. I don't reckon there's many things that many tabs that I visit that are that are past the essentials, should we say? So yeah, probably should look at that a bit more.
Do you have a competitive side, Josh, in terms of just anything, but in Football Manager and other things? I mean, one of my issues sitting on stream is I just don't like losing because it makes you look a little bit incompetent, even though I really like losing because it brings a lot of interaction in my chat and all that kind of stuff. But are you competitive with yourself, with other people? Where does that sit for you?
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head there. Like I say, I kind of make it a part of the streams that I'm not very good at the game. However, behind the curtain, I like to think I'm all right. I'm not awful. But then when you do go from third to like just scraping survival, it paints the picture that you are genuinely terrible. And it was possibly the streams towards the end of last week were one of the more painfuls, on the more painful side, should I say? Because even I didn't know. Like, sometimes I find myself not concentrating enough and I'm speaking to chat and then I've conceded a stupid goal. But it's okay. I've got enough time. I can tweak things around and we can get back in the game. Whereas things were just happening. People were just scoring goals from everywhere and I didn't know what to do. Like, it's okay. I kind of don't mind it if I'm losing and I'm like, well, yeah, you've been an idiot there, mate. You should have, I don't know, you've left your goalkeeper at right back. So there are times, as you say, where I am, and I do win a few trophies on stream, so I'm not completely hopeless. But yeah, I haven't actually had the opportunity to play PvP, but I think that would bring out a different side to me where I have to win. So we'll see.
Again, the PvP is just a different beast, though, isn't it? It's a really, really difficult thing. You know, I mean, we're sat here with the reigning and defending Football Manager World Heavyweight Champion, Kev Lesnar. He's here.
It is what it is. What can I say?
It is what it is, and what a title reign it's been. I've never been particularly good at PvP either, if I'm honest. Yeah, I want to be good. I want to win. You know, there was a very early into my PvP career, I was like, I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy to be meeting new people and having a nice time and getting to chat with people I've never got to chat with before. This is great. The social aspect of this, lovely. But then you do a couple of drafts and then you're like, oh, actually, it's probably time I started putting a bit of actual effort into this, though, isn't it? And it's, you know, I've always been in a position where I don't think I've ever been involved in a draft competition and I've been the favorite to win it because I'm not very good at drafting, shockingly enough. Weird, isn't it? But then there's part of you thinks, but, you know, I reckon if I give it enough, I reckon I could maybe come away from this competition with something. And it is a little bit tricky going back and forth and, you know, not, you know, starting to pick up wins and start to build a bit of momentum in that sense. I find it, you know, I'm getting to the point now where the social side is kind of second to the maybe potentially trying to do a little bit of winning. However, I'm fully aware that I'm not necessarily good enough to do winning. So what I like to do is I like to sit on panels instead, and I like to sit in judgment of other people's ability when I lack my own. It's really, really nice. I mean, we were talking before we started recording. You've sat on 2 different showdown panels in previous iterations. I mean, what's that like as an experience? Because that must be quite something.
Yeah, very, very, very fun. I really enjoyed both. I think it was twice I was on the showdown panel. I can't really remember. It's so long ago now. But yeah, really, really fun. I mean, the showdown. There were so many good draft competitions now, like so many, and the level of production is always rising for them all. But the showdown kind of burst onto the scene, and it was the one, wasn't it? It was massive. So to be part of that was very special, and had a great time. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've never actually competed in any PvP tournament, mainly because normally timings don't work out if it's around weekends and stuff like that. But it's always something I'd like to do, and then I'm intrigued about. But yeah, the paneling is something that I also really enjoy. I mean, it's kind of talking football, isn't it? So I mean, we all enjoy it.
Yeah, hard agree. I mean, Kev, you are the expert panelist as well as being a reigning.
What can't you do?
I am a
Literally
panelist.
nothing.
I think that's about what I'll say. But okay.
He's a triple threat, is what he is, Josh. He's a triple threat. Terrifies me. He can sing, he can dance, he can beat people up for money. The industry Kev works in, by the way, is crime. He's brilliant at that. Absolutely wonderful. But no, Kev, I mean, do you get more joy from sitting on the panels? Is that kind of your remit, or are you?
It's far less stressful. It's far less stressful. I've got a draft for those looking in on us on a Monday or Tuesday this week, whenever this drops for you. We're sitting Sunday morning, and I've got a draft this evening. It's going to be far more stressful to go live on my own stream this evening and play a PvP competition than it is to sit on the, I don't know, FM playoffs panel for 4 hours and just let Tony Jameson guide you through a process and just spout off a load of randomness every so often. That's a lot of fun. That's so much fun. And it's a great camaraderie thing to be able to do what we often do as a solo activity for other people to enjoy in lots of ways, but to be part of a group and a team to put these things on is amazing. So yeah, it's panels every day of the week are what my bag would be. But I love to compete as well. I have that competitive streak. I want to be good. I can't say that I'm always consistently good. I kind of blow hot and cold a little bit. But the enjoyable, thing of meeting up with like-minded people and having a go is something I really, really enjoy. So, long may the PvP scene continue to grow. But yeah, panels every day of the week. They're so much fun.
Yes. Hard agree. Like I say, it's that thing, isn't it? It's like you being on the panels. To me, it feels like you sat on the sofa, like watching like the World Cup or something, and you'll see somebody like miss a penalty in a World Cup semi-final, and I'm sat there. I've had like 3 bags of crisps and I've had like 3 beers. I'm sat like, I could have scored that. That was easy. Just do better. And you're like, no, you couldn't, Rich. No, you couldn't. You'd be tired just running up to take the penalty, let alone doing it under pressure. But that's what I feel like when I'm on the panels. I'm like, yeah, you'd expect Limo to be doing really well in this competition. Always let himself down a bit today. It's like, no, he hasn't. Limo's way better at this than you. You can't say that about him. But I've been brought into an environment where actually I can, because somebody's given me a microphone and asked for my opinion, and it's a terrible one, but my goodness, it's mine.
Poor Limo.
PvP,
what's he done to you, Rich? I feel
nothing.
like
I love him. I
Limo,
absolutely
if you
adore
need
Limo.
a chat, mate, come and talk to me.
Limo, I'm sorry, yours is the name that came to mind. It's because he's the busiest PvP man in the world, Limo. That's the only reason I've used you as an example there. Limo, I'm really, really sorry. I really, really like you. Well, I will say this to you, Josh. I will say this. Every now and then, we sporadically run the some might say the pinnacle of a Football Manager draft that we do. Some might. None of us, and probably nobody else, but yeah, maybe somebody had a nice time once. We run our FMT versus the community draft nights sporadically, but if you're ever available, mate, the invite is always there, and it's a good place to come and just hang out with the boys and play
Thank
some
you very
FM
much.
and laugh at us when we all do really badly. I say that I've won one of them, so I've won my
How
own
that
draft.
happened, still don't know, but well,
I know I've broken the golden rule of draft competitions. You don't win your own. You never win your own draft. It's just bad form. I had to win something. No, the invite is always there for you, pal.
Thank you very much.
Right then, fellas, just before we start to wrap things up with today's record, which has been an absolute treat, by the way, because
Absolutely.
they always are, but today extra specially so. Josh, what we like to do to finish our records when we have a guest on the podcast is we like to open up the floor to you and ask, do you have any questions for us that you would like to ask?
Ooh, I mean, that's dangerous. I could say anything now.
Please do. Please do, mate. Please do.
It would be good for ratings if you do. So, go for it.
No, I thought about a question, and it's an interesting one. I don't know how it'll go down. Right, question. If your walls of your streaming room could talk, what is the first thing they would say about either your stream or your FM ability or something like that? What would they say?
Oh, that's a very good question.
Thank you.
Rate that very highly. I like that a lot, mate. Wow. I suppose mine would probably have to do. It would be a combination of talking and noises. It would probably be a lot of like click, like Rich, you're streaming. You're streaming, Rich. Come on, back on the game. Hop off the bus to Tangent Town, Rich, because that's probably my biggest weakness is that I will just go off on one and forget what I was originally talking about, forget what I was doing before I started talking about it. Like I say, I'm awful, absolutely awful for playing FM, conceding goals because I've just stopped concentrating on what's happening around me. I've stopped, I'm talking to chat. I'm somebody's mentioned something and I was like, right, I immediately have to start looking this up. I think the other week it was Biker Mice from Mars. Jeb started talking about the 90s cartoon. I was like, right, can't remember the name. What were the names? It was Mondo, Throttle. What was the other one called? Vinny. Yes, Vinny. Oh, I've conceded a goal. That's disappointing. And that's my streaming experience in a nutshell. So I think it would, more than anything else, it would just be the walls of my room trying to, get my attention back on task, which I am not the best person in the world at staying on, if I'm brutally honest with you. And they just
Surely
laugh at me for
not.
being bad at the game. I know, weird, isn't it, Kev? Weird. No, Richard, no, surely, no, Richard, no.
So for me, it's twofold. One as a YouTuber and one as a streamer, because I don't do YouTube anymore, but I did it for like 3 and a bit years a while ago. And I think when I was doing YouTube, it would probably be something along the lines of you are allowed to do more than one take, because my whole thing was I would literally press record my 15 minutes, finish recording, put a top and tail on it and chuck it on the internet and go, yay, good, I put a video out. And I could have done so many different things in different ways. And I just couldn't figure out the way for me to do that. It's why I ultimately gave up YouTube. I don't think I fitted it in the same way that other people do. As a streamer, I'd like to think that actually my walls would basically say to my viewers, when you're not all watching him, he is actually reasonably good at this game. Because it never comes across on stream, I don't think particularly. Okay, last year, being a prime example, I traveled around Europe in my Homeward Bound series last year, won like 5 European trophies to get around Europe and progress the story. But nobody talks about that for my 23. They talk about the fact that I was sacked in the beta at Valencia, sacked in the network save at Brighton, and sacked at Fiorentina in my Italian part of the save as well. That's what they talk about, but it's not all that I do. So I hope that somehow in the midst of it, my walls would say, you can actually play the game. It's not too bad. And maybe this evening against some other people, I might be able to show it in a draft competition. You never know. But yeah, I'm not sure my viewers are convinced.
No. I think the problem that we have is that we've made a rod for our own back. And if we get too good at the game, people will start asking questions. I think while the dynamic of the podcast remains as it is, with the 4 of us, which Callum bottled promotion, was it 8 playoffs, 7 or 8 playoffs in a row that he lost? Yeah. 7 playoffs in a row he lost last year. Like it's just the way that it goes. We can't be too good at this. Tony was the same. Tony only got really good at FM once he, stopped hanging out with me and started hanging out with RDF on a regular basis. So, there's direct correlation between Tony being good at the game and that happening. And let's not pretend for a second that there isn't. Okay. We know, we've noticed. So we'd be off brand if we all started being a bit too good at this, wouldn't it? It wouldn't work. And Josh, I'm happy to include you in that little
Yeah,
group, mate.
yeah. There's no danger of me getting too good, though. I think we're okay with that.
Perfect.
So, you know, if you ever get your own podcast, which you have alluded to potentially wanting to do at some point, then, you know, make sure you're not too good at the game, because otherwise it just ruins the brand.
Yeah, I don't think there's any danger of that. I think I'm very far away from being even good, let alone too good. So I think we're okay.
So, sorry, very, very quickly then, how does the thought of a podcast sit with you? Because you mentioned that you might want to think about doing one. What does that look like at the moment? Is that a definite? Is that a hope? Is that a pie in the sky? Where are we sitting?
It's a hope, I think. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to your guys' podcast all the time. I spend a lot of time driving across the country back home to see family and that. So I've always got a good podcast on, and I just love creating content of some form. So the truth is, there's probably not enough time in my day or week to get it done, because there are days now where I wake up, especially early, will edit the TikTok to go out for that day, go to work, edit all day, come back, edit the YouTube video, go live after that, and then go to sleep and do it again the next day. So I don't know whereabouts that fits, but I mean, as you can tell, I love talking. People might not like listening to me, but I love talking. So yeah, it's a hope. I don't know where it ends up. If anyone's out there and listening to this and wants to start a podcast, give me a shout. I'm in. Yeah, I don't know really. I just would like to give it a go.
Oh, that's like putting out a question on Twitter saying, "Is there a designer out there?"
Yeah,
you'll get 75 million people going, "Yeah, I'll do a podcast with you."
I'll be on a podcast with you, Josh Peach. Yeah,
we're quite far into the episode. People might not have listened to me for this long. They got sick of my voice by now. We might be okay.
If one thing you need to be aware of in that case, if you get lots of people offering to do a podcast with you, if one of them is a guy called Tony Jameson, tell him from us he's already got 17 a week or whatever he's doing. He doesn't need another one. It's fine.
Yeah. And if Jeb and Callum apply, well, it's just telling at this point, isn't it? It's just telling. Pool tournament on the Isle of Man, is it, Jeb? Yeah, he's starting the Josh Peach experience, isn't he? That's when he's starting up. You can, by the way, feel free to use that as a name. It's not a very good one, but it's just out there, isn't it? It's just out there. The Josh Peach experience. I'd listen to that. I'd absolutely listen to that.
Me too.
Exactly. Well, mate,
Thanks,
you know what? I genuinely, I hope it happens for you at some point, even if you just record one. Just you find the time to record one, just so you can say that you've done it, because it's honestly, it's been my favorite thing about content creation has been this. I absolutely adore this. I would rather do this like this. Well, I wouldn't rather, but this is my favorite thing. Don't get me wrong. I love streaming. I love getting to hang out with people. I love getting to talk to people. That's so much fun, and I really, really like value those interactions. But this is what I enjoy the most, for sure. These are
to be fair, like I will say, you guys do it very, very well. I said to you in our DMs, Rich, like the dynamic that you guys have got and the true friendship, and it's a really good podcast. Like I feel like it's a very difficult thing to do a good podcast, because similar to a stream, like you're there for, I don't know, we've been recording for an hour and a half now. That's your real self, and you've got to, especially when you're with other people, you've got to have that dynamic and that connection and understand it. So you guys do it very well. So you're the people I'm looking up to when I'm saying, should I start a podcast? Oh, they do it pretty well. Let's see what they're doing and steal it.
Yeah, totally. Steal away, mate. Steal away. See, you think we're all really, really good mates, but in a couple of years' time, we'll do a live podcast from the top of the Apple building, like the Beatles. Then we'll just never see each other again. You wait. That's the next. If the next FMT live happens on a rooftop unannounced, then you know that things aren't okay at home. That's all we need to worry about. Josh, it's been an absolute pleasure to chat with you, mate. It's been absolutely brilliant, and thank you again for taking the time, pal. It's been absolutely wonderful. We've really, really enjoyed it. Before we wrap up, though, mate, now is the time to sell yourself. Where can the people find you doing all of those wonderful things that you do?
I'm not sure they're wonderful, but you can find them Josh Peach _ on Twitch and TikTok. Just Josh Peach on YouTube. I don't know why I ditched the underscore for YouTube, but probably not good for branding, that is it? Anyway, yeah, Josh Peach on Twitter, TikTok, Josh Peach _ on Twitter, TikTok, and Twitch. Josh Peach on YouTube. There'll be something somewhere, I'm sure.
There you go. Watch all of those things. Watch all of it, and any Wolves social media that you may see Josh has some kind of hand in. would
Maybe.
be my best guess. Exactly. So even if it's a goal highlight, you'll see Josh in the background nudging somebody. Like, I told him to do that. I told him. See, tactical analysis, it's back. Kev, what about you, my friend? Where can the people find you doing all the wonderful things that you do?
Yeah, you can find me at the United City FM, both on Twitter and Twitch. I'm on Twitch every weekday afternoon, 3 till 5 p.m, doing my Rolling in the Isles, British Isles Journeyman series. Come and join me there. Hopefully, we'll also be able to do I think it might be a Thursday evening network save this week, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
We'll confirm that later in the week as we go.
Mm-hmm.
It's likely to be around there this week, though. So if we can do that, come and join us for that. What about yourself, Rich? What do you got up? What do you got coming up this week?
Well, me, it's all Rich Owens, isn't it? Rich Owens FM on all the things. But more importantly, something Josh mentioned earlier kind of stuck out to me. And this week, what I'd like to do is I would like to shout out a wonderful Twitter account, Non-League Volunteers. It's at Non-League Vol on Twitter. Basically, they just highlight the importance of people like Josh during his time at Kings Lynn, doing all the bits and pieces behind the scenes, just volunteering for your local non-league football club. Because a lot of the time, you know, your non-league teams, especially as you drop further and further down the pyramid, they rely so heavily on the support of the local community of volunteers helping out on match days or helping out behind the scenes in some capacity, because they may not have the capacity to do it themselves. So if if you listen to Josh's story, if you've been inspired by that and thinking, right, well, there's a club 5 minutes down the road from me, we play in tier 9 of the English football pyramid, I will guarantee you, if you turned up there and like, right, is there anything I can do to help on a match day? They are going to say yes, and they're going to welcome you with open arms. They've also got a second account, which is non-league roles, which is kind of highlighting available opportunities that non-league clubs have, that they're actively trying to recruit for. So if you want to be like Josh Peach, follow these accounts, get in touch.
Be like
I'm
me.
not guaranteed. Yeah, follow these accounts. 3.5 years time, guaranteed a job with the Premier League club. No, that's absolutely not what we're saying at all. Absolutely not what we're saying at all. But you never know. You never know. So just get in touch, because non-league football is brilliant. We all love non-league football around here. We never shut up about it. So get in touch with your local non-league club and just see what you can do, and you'll have a great time. I absolutely guarantee it. Lads, I don't know about the two of you, but that very much feels like a podcast to me.
It absolutely, definitely was. Very, very podcasty. I liked it a lot.
Very, very podcast.
Couldn't be more podcasty, I'd argue.
Some would say.
It couldn't be. It couldn't be. We could try and cram more in, but it just wouldn't fit. It just wouldn't fit. Right then. And that is where we're going to leave it. Josh, thank you so much again, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure.
No, thank you guys. I've really, really enjoyed it.
Mate, anytime. Kev, thank you, mate. Again, lovely
pleasure as always,
my pal Kev. And thank you, our audience. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. However you are consuming this podcast, we massively appreciate you. Thank you once again for joining us for another episode of Football Manager Therapy. We will see you on the next one. Take care. Love you lots. Bye-bye.